For over a century, the words Cosa Nostra have struck fear and fascination across the world. It's a secret society built on blood, loyalty, and silence, the Mafia. But how did it all begin? How did a small island in the Mediterranean become the birthplace of the world's most infamous criminal brotherhood? Today we're going back in time, to the dusty hills of 19th century Sicily, to uncover the true origins of the Sicilian Mafia. To understand the birth of the Mafia, we first need to understand Sicily. For centuries, Sicily was conquered and ruled by outsiders: Greeks, Romans, Arabs, Normans, Spaniards, and finally, the Bourbons of Naples. Every ruler imposed their own laws, taxes, and military forces, but ordinary Sicilians, they never truly trusted any of them. Government was seen as corrupt, foreign, and oppressive, so the people learned to rely on themselves, and for local communities, protection and justice. This created what was known as the Code of Silence, Omertà. If someone wronged you, you didn't go to the police. You settled it privately, through revenge or negotiation. Over time, power came to those who could offer that protection, and fear came to those who crossed them. By the 1800s, Sicily was a land of landlords and peasants. Vast estates called latifundia were controlled by rich families, many of whom lived far away. To manage their lands, they hired gabellotti, middlemen who collected rent, managed workers, and protected the property. These gabellotti often hired guards and enforcers to keep order and intimidate rivals, and this is where the roots of the Mafia began to grow. The year is 1861. Italy is just unified under one kingdom, and Sicily officially becomes part of the new Italian state. But the government in Rome had no real control over Sicily. There was chaos, rebellion, and poverty everywhere. So who would step in to fill the void? The same local men of honor who had been enforcing their own justice for decades. They became the shadow government, settling disputes, collecting taxes, and offering protection for a price. The word mafia itself has uncertain origins. Some say it comes from an old Arabic word, mahiafa, meaning bragging or boldness. Others say it comes from Sicilian slang for pride and defiance. But by the late 1800s, the term was clear. The Mafia was a loose network of families connected by blood, business, and mutual protection. They called themselves Cosa Nostra, our thing. It wasn't just a name, it was a way of life. And unlike ordinary gangs, the early Mafia wasn't just about money. It was about power, respect, and secrecy. Members were bound by a sacred oath to remain silent before authorities, to protect their brothers, and to never betray Cosa Nostra. If you broke the code, there was only one punishment: death. Initiation into the Mafia was a ritual. A saint's image would be burned in the initiate's hands as he swore loyalty. As the image burned, so may my soul burn if I betray Cosa Nostra. These ceremonies turned the Mafia into something deeper than a gang. It became a secret fraternity, a parallel society that operated in the shadows, unseen but everywhere. By the late 1800s, the Mafia had infiltrated almost every part of Sicilian life: agriculture, citrus trade, transportation, and even politics. The lemon industry surprisingly became one of the Mafia's first gold mines. Lemons were a luxury export, and controlling the orchards meant controlling serious money. The Mafia protected these businesses from theft, from bandits, and from themselves. But their protection came with strings attached. If you refused to pay, your goods might get stolen, or your house might be burned. So the Mafia's protection wasn't optional, it was a tax on survival. Local politicians and police often turned a blind eye. Some even collaborated. The Mafia influence stretched from rural villages to the very halls of power. And while Sicily's new rulers in Rome claimed victory over corruption, in truth, Cosa Nostra was just getting started. By the early 1900s, the Mafia had become part of Sicily's DNA, invisible, untouchable, and indispensable. It wasn't until outsiders tried to challenge the Mafia that the world began to understand its power. In 1876, an Italian parliament investigation known as the San Giorgi Report exposed how deeply the Mafia controlled Palermo. It described networks of extortion, violence, and political corruption, all operating under a silent code. But even that wasn't enough to stop them. Witnesses were intimidated, juries were bribed, and judges were afraid. The Mafia's strength came not just from bullets, but from fear. By the time in World War II, the Mafia had spread far beyond Sicily. Some mafiosi even collaborated with American forces during the Allied invasion of Italy in 1943, helping restore order to villages and towns. In return, many were rewarded, reinstated as mayors and police chiefs. That alliance would lay the groundwork for something much larger: the global rise of the Mafia from Sicily to America. The Sicilian Mafia didn't begin as a crime empire. It began as a reaction to injustice, to foreign rule, to a lack of trust in government. But over time, it evolved into one of the most powerful criminal organizations in history, a brotherhood that lived by its own laws and enforced them with blood. Even today, the shadow of Cosa Nostra still lingers over Sicily. Its methods, silence, loyalty, and control continue to influence organized crime around the world. And that's how it all began, from the hills of Sicily to the dark underworld we know today as the Mafia. This has been Mafia Tales. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the origins of Cosa Nostra, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories from the underworld, and let me know in the comments what you want to hear next.